Hi, welcome to New Hope Lutheran Church and Pastor Charlie's Toolbox. So today, I've got the old toolbox right here. Let's take a look what's inside of it. Apparently, I've got a bunch of old tools in here. Old tools, things that have been passed down from one generation to the next. One of the first things I have here is an old style torque wrench. Now, you might remember what a torque wrench is from when I change tires on a vehicle. It makes sure that the nut is on the right tightness so that it's not going to come off. The one I have and generally use, you might recall, when you reach that tightness, it clicks. It makes a clicking sound. This one's a little bit older technology than that. What you do is you take a socket where your nut goes into, and you can put it on either side. We'll put it on here, and then you tighten and tighten away. And what happens when you get really tight is that the arm here actually starts to bend, and this needle by the gauge here, it stays straight. So you pull and you actually are bending the arm, and then the needle moves to the little numbers here to tell you how tight you've got it. It's okay, although if you're working in an odd space where you can't really see the needle, it makes life a little bit difficult because you're trying to look at it and you can't see it. But you know what? It works in a pinch. If you don't have anything else, this will do the trick still. What else we got? Oh, a sharpening stone. Now, that's an odd sharpening stone because it's got this handle and then the stone there. You might wonder what it's for. Well, it's to sharpen another old tool I have here, a scythe. Now, a scythe, you use it for cutting long grass, or, it's been used for grain and all kinds of other things over history, but it needs to be kept sharp. So, what you do with this is you just run it over the blade of the scythe. And you do that on both sides and you get a nice sharp edge on it. And it can be very handy as well. Lastly, I have something for in the house. You may not know what that is, but it's an old iron, for ironing clothes. And it's quite heavy, so it's got a lot of weight to it, much more than the modern irons do. And you would get it hot, and then you iron your clothes, and when it cools down, you set it back on top of your wood stove, and you release the handle. And then you pick up another one that's already hot, and you just put the handle on and lock it in place. There you go. You can keep on going. Nifty little gadget. Now, I know that some of you might think they don't really make sense for us to use those kinds of tools in this day and age. But I want to remind you that doesn't mean that they aren't still useful in some way. If we find ourselves without the modern conveniences like electricity, it can be dandy to know where these things come from and how they work. These items, they'll work for us in a pinch when we don't have anything else to use, and some can actually work better than the modern replacements. Take the scythe for example. Look how much just about cut myself there. Look how much you have here to cut with when you're using it. You get a nice wide swath on it, and I could probably cut long grass faster with this than I could with your average weed whacker. because it covers a lot more. The only thing is, it tires you out a lot quicker too. Let's just hang that up there where it's out of the way and I'll be safe. You know, it occurs to me that information about such things like these old tools and some of the old ways of doing things, that information should be passed on from one generation to next. Just like tools are passed down. I mean, anything that can be helpful is useful information, and I think useful information should be shared. And we find the same kind of thing happening in this week's gospel from John 12 here. In that gospel lesson, we have a group of Greeks, and they want to meet Jesus, but they didn't know how to approach him. How do we get to meet him? So they saw one of his disciples, Philip, and they asked him what to do, and he wasn't sure, so he asked Andrew and other disciples, and Andrew then took them all to meet Jesus and find out a little more about him. It occurs to me we also have a unique opportunity to introduce people to Jesus and to show them how the Christian lifestyle works. I mean, even if we don't know every single thing about it, it is still helpful to share with others the kinds of things the Christian faith has done for us. And, well, for some people, the faith may seem as outdated as old tools. It is in the times when our lives are in a pinch. You know, those times when we're in grief, or we're frustrated, or we're angry, or we're in sorrow, or facing uncertainty. Those times are the times that God's Word shines through, and we start to understand it's not all that outdated, but it still has a really valid purpose. Whatever we know about the Christian faith is worth sharing with others. So, I encourage you to use your faith so that it grows, and to share your faith with others, because it's not as outdated as you might think, but rather has a useful purpose today and every day.